Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well. One of the Mandela effects that still gets me is Morpheus now never says, "What if I told you everything you know is a lie?" I was listening to several podcasts last night during inventory. It's one of the perks of going to an inventory. I actually get to pop in some earbuds and just listen to different things, and it really occurred to me that almost literally everything that we've been told is a lie, and that comes in the form of biblical cosmology, Mandela effect, all of these different things that what the mainstream narrative says is actually different than what it actually is. So I got to just really thinking about some of it and some different things that, if we just look at what we know to be true, or what we know they lied to us about that now has been shown to be true, we can start to piece together kind of a puzzle. And I like to look at things now from that little season eschatology standpoint. But one of the earliest instances of something that they told us they weren't doing, that they actually were doing, was Operation Mockingbird, where the three-letter agencies, particularly the CIA, was involved in the mainstream media propaganda that was being put out. They were basically controlling the narrative, distributing the information, and several journalists, editors, who were all on the payroll. They were paid to put out that propaganda. And that was even, there was a quote from William Colby, who said the CIA owns everyone of any significance in the major media. Then you can look at the other stuff the CIA was involved in, MK Ultra. They were basically working on mind control. And what I think about when I see the MK Ultra stuff, of course you have the news shows like Stranger Things and that kind of thing, but I was a huge fan of Lost. So the MK Ultra, I think I liken it to, I think they called it Room 23, or maybe they just called it Room, and I'm thinking something completely different than Room 23, but it was basically where they took people that they wanted to reprogram, and they showed them this video and gave them drugs and stuff like that to basically influence their minds. And of course the real MK Ultra program had several ties to people that were involved in assassination attempts, or even assassinations, period. Get people like Charles Manson as well. He was tied up into some of that MK Ultra stuff. You can do the research on that. There's plenty there. That's another program. Hey, they're not doing that. Yes, they are. They are. Operation Paperclip. Anybody that's ever done any research into World War II and what happened to the Nazis after the war can clearly see that they were brought to America, whether secretly or not so secretly, because it wasn't really that big of a secret, I don't think. But they basically were given prominent positions of authority in our space program, our missile program, our intelligence programs. They were basically overseeing a huge portion of some of the biggest points of control in America. I mean, Werner von Braun was Hitler's chief rocket scientist, and he's basically the father of the U.S. space program now. And don't forget that on his headstone it does say that the firmament showeth the handiwork of Yahuwah's creation, something like that. Then you have the Tuskegee Airmen, which, again, if you hadn't done any research on it, doesn't take long. Type in Tuskegee experiments, Tuskegee syphilis project, whatever you want to type in, bring it up. They were basically bringing in these African American males, saying, "Hey, we're going to do give you some health shots, some stuff to make you healthy, and then we're going to just run tests on you and see how things go with you." Well, they were actually injecting them with syphilis. And this is well documented. This is actually what happened. So they were lying to us then. Well, they were lying to them, especially. Then you have Operation Northwoods. Now, Operation Northwoods, I didn't really even know about this, but I think it had something to do with the Cuban Missile Crisis. And they basically, the U.S. military had pulled up a false flag attack that they were going to carry out to justify the war with Cuba. It actually didn't actually come to fruition, but it was very much planned out. Now, you could get into all kind of stuff just based on that simple fact that actually was something in the books, or on the books. You could get into 9/11. You could get into other attacks that have happened throughout the country, throughout other regions of the world. But again, this is stuff that we know. Actually, it happened. It's there. Anybody can see it. Then you have COINTELPRO, which was basically the FBI trying to get into the civil rights movement and co-opt several of the movements there. And I do think there's some things that you can look at with Martin Luther King Jr. and some of the stuff that happened there. Definitely some smoke, and where there's smoke, there's usually fire. Again, this is it is facts. Documents showed that the FBI targeted him with a smear campaign. Then you could get into what Edward Snowden revealed when he showed that basically the powers that be are surveilling everyone. They are watching, they're listening. We know this is happening with AI and how the ads work on our Facebook profile. I forgot what it was that we were talking about, something the other day, and just at work, and literally, it was some attraction. It was a local, like, fall festival type thing that they do, and we were talking about the name of it. We couldn't recall the name of it, and we finally did. And then, of course, 20 minutes later, the ad for it's popping up on our Facebook feed. Now, all of these are confirmed real things that they have lied to us about. Said, hey, no, we're not doing it, but we actually are. And I've done a video on the Radium Girls. If you want to do some digging there, that's not really, I think they did kind of know that they were basically just testing it on them. They may not have known right away that that was going to cause the issues that it did, but they had no idea. So you could even get into how this applies to the events from 2019, 2020, and so on around the pokey. And I don't even know how much you can still say on YouTube. I mean, they say it's kind of slacked up a little bit. Maybe it has, maybe it hadn't. But there's definitely stuff there that it didn't make sense what they were telling us. And a lot of us questioned it. A lot of us said, hey, those are lies. And ultimately, a lot of us were justified. A lot of us were shown to be right. So we get into the things that aren't so clear, like biblical cosmology, like the fact that the world mainstream tells us that, hey, it's a spinning globe, or spinning around the sun's traveling through space. And that's just the facts. That's what they say. You could get into the flat earth rabbit hole, do your own research there, but there's tons of stuff you could dig up. All of the ancient cultures believed that the earth was flat and stationary, like it says in the scriptures. And one of the things that really got to me and showed me that was the case was doing the research on the moon landing, how they faked that. But again, that's one of those things. Hey, we lost all the telemetry data. We don't have anything that shows how we got there, how we got back. We got this great footage. We got this great footage from there, and we got a phone call that the president made called the moon, and he was talking to him. And we've got the 3 astronauts, the heroes that came back, and their joyous reaction to becoming the first men to walk on the moon and make it there. And I'm being sarcastic there in case you can't tell, because when they came back and they were given that press conference where they were asked all these questions, they looked like 3 men that were miserable. They were not happy at all about what they did. They looked like they were lying. I mean, just utterly sick to their stomach about the lie they were perpetrating. You got the Mandela effect. What's causing it? Who's causing it? And don't tell me that the government doesn't know about it. They've got to know. They know that people are not remembering things the way that it's always been, or remembering Dolly had braces and now she doesn't. I mean, they've got to know that that's something, that's kind of if you were just a independent government responsible for overseeing people, to me, something like that would be a pretty huge deal. And I don't know, I think there was a channel that was kind of exploring some of the investigations of the government into that stuff, but don't tell me they don't know about it. I mean, what's CERN doing over there? CERN is, they may not outright take credit for what's happening, but they want you to think that they have some control over what's happening. Some say in reality changes, they wouldn't be putting out the videos that they put out if they didn't want you to think that. Then you got the ancient civilizations, the architecture. They're lying to us about that. There's absolutely no doubt they're lying to us about that. The structures that were built using just chisels, and hammers, and horse and buggy, transporting all that stone, all that huge amounts of rock, stuff that's cut to just the precision of just laser precision. They're just so precise. And they're doing this in a time where is basically impossible to do. Then the mud floods. You've got civilizations that were completely flooded out. The bottom of the basement floors completely washed out. What happened there? No historical account of a mud flood. Nothing that we know of, nothing that's recorded in history. Lying to us. I don't remember that in history class. Like a Project Bluebeam. All of that stuff going on. Aliens. Right? That's what they say is aliens. Project Bluebeam is basically being ran in a way that's going to convince people that an alien invasion is happening. Could be lies. Could be lies. Geoengineering, the weather stuff going on. Saying they don't have any idea what's being sprayed in the air. That's just vapor. Contrails, condensation trails being sprayed. But now you've got politicians wanting to come out and say, we've got to ban these people from spraying these chemicals in the air. It's like, wait a second, you guys have been saying all along that there's nothing being sprayed. Why do we have to ban it now? So, I guess my point to all this, and I'm kind of rambling at this point, but literally I'm just pulling the stuff from my head that kind of gets touched on in these podcasts and stuff that I listen to. But we're definitely being lied to. And we're being lied to on a scale that is just absolutely unbelievable to some degree. I mean, literally at every single point of your daily life, you can find a lie about something that you hold to believe. And this doesn't just extend just to the education system. It goes into religion, it goes into politics, it touches every part of our society. So that's why I find it very ironic that the character in The Matrix that basically says a lot of this exact same stuff, the exact same things. Some of it's still there in the movie. But now, the part that we remember him saying, and we made just hundreds of memes about it, he does not say. So, what if I told you that everything you know is a lie? That's the point we're at with the normies, and that's the mountain we have to climb when talking to people on a daily basis. How entrenched they are in the lies, how deep they go. That's a difficult mountain to climb out of. So, or climb on top of, I guess, then bring it down. But again, the truth is Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ. That's the truth. That's where we start. If you start there, you can't really go wrong. That foundation is it's so important, because once you allow the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, to start coming in and allowing truth to speak, then things become evident. Things become clear. Truth begins to be revealed. And that's where we all should be at, regardless. Just, asking questions, coming to him like a child, saying, hey, Father, I want to know what this is about, or I'd really like to know what this is about. Sometimes you're not going to get an answer. You're going to be stuck. You're going to say, well, you're not ready for that. And that may happen. But sometimes you're going to be shown an answer, and you're going to have to decide what to do with it, how to accept it, how to take it. And that's the important part. So anyway, guys, keep asking questions and keep pressing forward in the truth. Take care. God bless.